Hello, friends. Hope you're well. Beautiful rainy day here in the Pacific Northwest. It's good for some rain gazing. Every day has a new feeling, but it will trigger other feelings from other days, especially if you live in the same area for long periods of time. And that's an act of recapitulating, is just reflecting on the feelings that surface when you are triggered by a present feeling. So it's really powerful to live in the same place, or return to the same place that you grew up in. It's also really powerful to move to new places and start new feelings and get to know the different areas of this realm, this dream. Learning to track this entire thing for whatever it is. Allowing it to be a mysterious discovery. Getting to become very awake and alive so that you're really smelling and hearing and feeling and listening and looking at all the things. The wind came in last night and was just communicating with me, and it's power. It's a relationship. And there's just nothing like that, when you hanging out with people that don't notice these things. It's good to experience that, but when you're with people that do notice these subtleties that most people miss, then there's a lot of gratitude that you have for that person. There are people that know these subtleties who are not on a path of heart, who seek power for other reasons. And that gets confusing because they're like super conscious of things that they've devoted their life to, and yet they're seeking to use that as a means to gain following, in order to gain energy, in order to achieve advancements in their dreaming. And that's part of the pitfalls of the ancient Toltecs and what they got caught in when they were manipulating their apprentices. So I'm not seeking to be a Toltec, even though I talk about Toltec things. As I've stated before, this is just the body of knowledge that is proven to me to be the most thorough, that is willing to answer the questions in very powerful and mysterious ways, that has unveiled the contradictions, that each truth has a contradiction. They have helped, the Castaneda books and different people that I've met that walk in a powerful way have helped me to become aware of the importance of becoming fluid, adaptable, not offended. And we used to go to day labor as a means to face very uncomfortable situations without losing our power. In fact, we would gain power from these people throwing things at you, working in the rain all day long, digging ditches, there's nothing like it. You are considered the bottom of the totem pole. You are, not respected, typically. And you realize that there's so much power in that. And you can become very fluid because of it when you stop being at odds with situations of that nature and you seek that out as a means to gain power. And so people would be trying to offend us, And because we were shining bright and smiling and not at odds with them or anything, we were taking the power from them. And that you could see that there was a jealousy in them, that we had a freedom that they didn't know about. I'm not suggesting that you go do this. I'm just offering what it means to free yourself, so that no matter what comes down the line, you have the tools to provide for yourself, to navigate this realm, this dream that you're dreaming in. It's an incredible dream, and there's always a window of opportunity to find your way forward, even when things seem really difficult. But the ego is often attached to how that will happen, therefore you'll miss the magical solution that's being presented to you. So how do we clean the slate enough that we are conscious enough and aware enough to see these opportunities and make use of them? Often we try to recreate feelings that we felt in the past, and we go to do that and it isn't the same. It's because there's new neural pathways to form. And if you're thinking and controlling and trying to create something, then it's going to be difficult to be in the flow state in which you can receive the signs and omens and guidance that would allow you to have a new experience. You can elaborate on it's great to tap old feelings and then to expand upon them. But often, I see people that keep trying to recreate they go to the same breakfast place to feel the same feelings they felt, or you order the same meal, or try to, read the same book, listen to the same song. I mean, all that's powerful. I'm not saying don't do that. But the trick is often to you really make sure that that's the guidance that's being offered, rather than a new adventure. If you're being shown to return to the same place over and over, and that's a place of power for you, wonderful. I do that. I'm not saying I don't. And when I know there's a certain food that my body likes, I get, I'll order it time and time again. And but it's when you're trying to put a balm on a wound, and you're trying to use something that once worked before, that it often stops working, because we're here to expand and gain more territory in our perception. And if we're trying to stay in a contracted state that's based on the past, then we're upholding our personal history rather than erasing it. And we want to erase the blueprint of the past that continues to create our future, so that we can have a much more expansive opportunities. The blueprint hijacks our lives, and mine does very much so. I'm not separate from this. And I'm not at odds with that, though. I've accepted the fact that that's the case, and that I have to go slow in order to, or I get to go slow. I'm trying to stop saying I have to, but I get to go slow, as I've discovered that that's a powerful strategy. A means to accept where I'm at and get to know my situation and make small adjustments over long periods of time. They say it's the little things. It's the little things that you do that have the big effect long term, because we are a product of all these little moments, and ultimately it's one gigantic moment that we're in. But we can get to know the details of the situation. But when you stop being at odds with what's going on in this dream, whether it's the elite or the matrix or the people throwing things at you, you know, when you overcome the fear, it's okay to be scared, but once you're no longer afraid, then you can face things that liberate you. And so we spend our whole lives trying to make sure that we don't get put in situations where we would be embarrassed or challenged. But if we were to go and face those things, instead of avoid them, then we would feel an incredible amount of freedom. We would realize, oh, that was not as scary as I thought. It feels good to have been made fun of and to not have completely lost my shit. But you want to pick your timing. You know, there's some strategy to this. But living in fear is not really living. When you get out of fear, you start having the ability to have clear thoughts. Fear hijacks the ability to be guided because you're protecting a part of you that doesn't want to be seen. So exposure of those wounds and that armor in situations that you know, have the opportunity to truly set you free. You know, it's kind of like when you have to throw up and you don't want to, but you know you'll feel so much better if you just do. So getting it over with, purging, crying, releasing the tension in your body, learning to shake, learning how to release anger in a way that is not harmful to others. We don't want our anger to be taken out on people or animals or trees or anything. Everything's conscious. But like the pillow, you know, punching something that is designed to be punched, rather than getting in a fist fight with someone that, you know, just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time when your fear and disharmony reached an apex. So becoming, you know, adaptable is a really liberating thing, and it'll make it so that you can learn dreaming in a really unique way. If you're attached to goals, it can be hard to truly listen because those goals override you. The agenda hijacks the freedom of the experience. So making use of whatever this dream is offering you, whether it's rain and wind and intensity, or, you know, a day off in the sun with a loved one where everything's aligned and everything's clear, they're equally powerful, and one makes the other that much better. They balance each other out. They give you perspective. Having these feelings flood your being when you're triggered allows you to know what's going on within. How we start our day is really powerful. Like how we set ourselves up. The first thing you do, you know, the second thing you do, you can stack and intend your intentions by just giving yourself extra time to really contemplate and feel into the feelings of each new experience. Mount the moment. fully show up and look at your surroundings and take it all in and consider that it might be the last moment, that this might be the last day. There's a lot of power in that. Bringing death in as an advisor, the only being that will be truly honest with you. Because we're not fully honest with ourselves, because we are entangled in a relationship with power in which we are unconscious to a degree. We become more and more conscious as we face our shadow and get to know our wounds and start to work out all the different feelings that are moving through us that we don't typically know how to stop and really feel into. So working with somebody that can help you to access your feelings. I work with someone that all of a sudden all this emotion comes up from talking about a subject I've talked about plenty of times, but because she is holding space in a particular way, it allows my body to feel safe to surface something that hasn't surfaced in the way that it just has. And then once it surfaces, I have an opportunity to really get into it, but often I will override it because it's embarrassing. So I still deal with embarrassment. Tons of it. I'm not saying that because I've done some intense stuff that I'm without these limitations. But I am interested and open and willing to learn more about myself so that I might know more about humanity in general. Because we're all connected. We're all affected by each other. But we're also individuals, and we have the capacity to remain individuals even in the afterlife. And that's what shamans seek, is to keep their uniqueness and their intensity intact and explore and become adventurers, to traverse the infinite and to make discoveries. There are discoveries out there to be made that have never been made, and someday someone will come up with an idea or a thought that will change everything forever for everyone. And you might be that person. We've been given these incredible opportunities as extensions of the energetic mystery to become more aware, more conscious, and forge new paths, to bushwhack right through the wilderness and discover something that nobody ever has. Another way of talking about things, another way of learning to face things that just may have been overlooked. We're in a new time, we're in a new mood. Every day is different. When we learn to make use of those opportunities, then we become pioneers of perception. And when you are able to activate the psychedelic state of perception without having to take any drugs, then there's really nothing holding you back. Now you can really tap into the powers that exist in this world. Dreaming is so powerful. It is the portal to the infinite, and it is so difficult. It is so difficult to achieve what Carlos Castaneda achieved. And I'm not trying to I'm not even trying to. I'm just preparing my being for the jolt that is coming for me, that will make that type of journey possible. I'm not obsessed, although I used to be. I'm just interested. I'm fascinated. And I'm not seeking to become a Toltec. I mean, people say I am, or I am a shaman, or these things. You could say that, but it's just a word. Everyone is, really. Everyone, if you scratch the surface and get to the bottom of what's going on, get past the programming, we are all made up of the same thing. A beggar and a king, neither one has an advantage over the other. They're both balls of light that exist in a realm, and their relationship with the infinite is personal. My dreaming is incredible. It's just getting more and more amazing. I don't talk about the details. I know some people that do. There's some places you can go, and people will tell you all these crazy things that are happening to them, and they're people that do that are typically showing off rather than, because it's sort of sacred, it's sort of personal, it's almost too beautiful to talk about. So, but it gives these people that do share, it gives them attention, and makes them feel empowered, and then they can sort of gather apprentices in a way that is very similar to what I think the old sorcerers got entangled in. That became eventually their downfall. So there's a whole world to explore. This world and many others. This is not the only realm. And we don't have any business trying to get into these other layers without being strong enough to. There's no point in being suicidal, so to speak, where you put yourself in a situation where you're unlikely to survive. So taking really good care of yourself, by listening, not by trying to copy somebody, but by truly following knowing where you're at in the stage of things. I think that's so key. But at first, you're gonna go through a stage where you're mimicking others or whatever, and that's okay. But eventually finding what it is that really does it for you. You have your own unique path of heart to discover. Giving yourself permission to fully get to know yourself, learning to spend time alone, and fall in love with that aloneness. I know it's confronting. I've been there. I used to not, I used to avoid myself. But once you stop avoiding and you start facing things, it's like there's this incredible energetic support that comes in and makes it quite enjoyable to be alone. And you almost get to the point where you don't want to be with people. You just want to be alone. And then you go through, eventually you can come out of that stage, and then it just stops mattering, right? And that's where you can be really adaptable and fluid, is because you can be alone, you can be with people, you can really enjoy being the witness, which is to not be in judgment, but to just witness. But you can also, play a role as if you are in judgment, But because you're detached and observing yourself play that role, then you're actually just being a witness that is now acting. But that acting is guided, you know, you're matching the perception of the people around you, and you're using this world as a means to, it's like theater, where you're an actor on the stage. And really that's what we're all doing. It's just that because we don't know that, it's technically a mental ward. So freeing yourself from this misunderstanding allows you to be observant in the mental ward so completely that you break the chains of the self-reflection and free up your opportunities, and opens the doors to have experiences that allow you like deep, profound moments of understanding about the nature of realities. Often seeing people in their most disturbed, dysfunctional states, like homeless people that are in real entangled in all kinds of complex dynamics, living on the street. Just spending time witnessing that is really incredible for me. It helps me to really appreciate the theatrics of this world, and just the depths of confusion that we can achieve. And on the polarity of that is the depths of clarity that are accessible. And so I gain great clarity from being in situations of that nature. And I feel strongly and tap the feelings that these people are feeling. And in some parallel life, that I'm just observing another part of me, right? So I'm not separate from what's happening to these people. And yet I am using them as a gauge, as a means to know the dangers of expanding your perception and losing your filters too quickly. We want to have strategy. We want to be energetically conscious. We want to be, not reckless. But at the same time, we want to be courageous and take chances. The universe really responds to that. Thank you, friends.